Hey everyone, this is my SIG Scorpion. I did a review on this when I first got it, doing an update on the finish, a little bit of news on some interaction with SIG customer service, and a couple of accessories here, different holsters and such. And alright, so what I did here was break down the gun here, so it'll be a little bit easier. I can show you some different angles on the finish without anybody having to worry whether my gun's loaded or unloaded. So obviously it's unloaded. So the Cerakote finish that's on here, I was hoping that it would stay intact. I live in Arizona now, but I'm planning on moving to Texas, near the coast, so I was hoping that it would stay intact, help with corrosion. I wouldn't have to worry about it as much. I have had some chipping, and I'll show you where exactly that is. So we'll start with the frame here, right here where the slide stop sits. So I've had some significant chipping there, and then they also put it actually in the rails here, and that started to wear off. Not big deal, but there's a lot more chipping on the slide here, so you can see along there on these corners up here, along here, basically every corner edge has been pretty vulnerable. So there's a spot here, some around the ejection port here, again over here, along here. There's actually a lot right along here. That's been the worst recently. Up here, and now the barrel bushing has taken some off where it sits, and you can't really tell, but really where you see it is right here on these corners. And I'm sure that's just from in and out of the holster, they're rubbing on the holster. All in all, you can't really tell unless you see it up close, but for those of you that would get pissed off about something like that, just want to make sure you guys know, it's not a huge deal to me. I didn't buy it for it to be pretty. It's not a deal breaker for me. I still love the gun. It still shoots great. I have a shop here in town that I've talked to the owner. He's already told me that he can do another Cerakote finish. So I'd probably look into that, maybe change the color. But that's the plan right now. I'm going to share an experience with SIG customer service right now. Now I'll tell you, so nobody gets pissed off at me here, I'm not trying to bash anybody. I've had no problems with the gun functioning, but have had a negative experience here, and I'll share what's going on with that. So I went out with some friends to the range. I put about 150, maybe 200 rounds through the gun. It functioned flawlessly. It was shooting accurately. Even people that hadn't handled it before were shooting tight groups with it. So the gun was functioning as normal. When I came home, I disassembled it, went to clean it, and there was this extra piece that I noticed on the floor, and I couldn't figure out where it came from. For a minute, it didn't look like anything that had come out of the gun before. And I'd had it for 8 months already. I'd probably put 2,000 rounds through it already, so it had been cleaned multiple times before. And what had actually happened was, show you here, SIG sends the gun with a 2-piece guide rod, and this had come out of the spring and fallen onto the floor. And so I didn't recognize it without its other half here. So this was my guide rod in 2 pieces here. Now it didn't bend the spring, it didn't bind up while I was shooting, so no problems there. No damage to the inside of the gun that I could figure out. And I've shot it since, and no functional problems. Now, yeah, so I was lucky enough that a local shop here in town where I bought it, they loaned me this guide rod while I was going to call SIG for another one, a replacement piece. So I called SIG. The customer service portion was excellent. I called them. They asked for my serial number. They were quick about everything, and so they went ahead and asked me if I could take some pictures of the problem. So I took a couple pictures of this guide rod here and what state it's in. The guy asked for my serial number. I emailed him both of those pieces of information, the pictures and the serial number. I quickly got a response back through my email saying that I would have a replacement guide rod in the mail shortly. Now, shortly, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I waited 3 days for this thing to even leave the factory. I called at the time they opened, so it was a brand new day. This is what I got. Now, I waited. I do live, on the western side of the country, so I understand shipping takes a few days, but I waited over 10 days to get this in the mail. And to make things worse, I don't know if you can see this here, but these are not even close to the same size in diameter. And if I slide this, if you guys have a 1911, I'm no expert. I like 1911s, but I'm no expert, but I don't think this should be possible. Okay, this is just so loose that it's not even funny. I've never seen a guide rod fit, not a non-full length guide rod anyway, fit into a recoil spring like this. I mean, it'll just slide right off. So that I was worried about binding. So what I did was I called SIG. I'd had good experience with them already. So, in the customer service part, I called them and said, this is not the right part. And so I told the guy what was going on, that it was the guide rod, the diameter of it was too small. And so he asked for my serial number again, and what he said was, well, I just pulled up a spec sheet on your gun, itemized parts for everything in your gun, and we sent you the right part. I was like, well, there's going to be functional issues if I put that part in my gun I'm worried about. And he told me the only solution to this problem was for me to send my gun into SIG. And I've chosen not to do that simply because this is my defensive handgun. I waited for a guide rod to leave the factory for 3 days. I don't even want to know how long my gun would sit in the factory while they're figuring out the difference in these two guide rods. Plus, I really don't want that to happen again. It's not worth the time and money when I could just order a different one. So that's what I did. I ordered a different guide rod. Should be here in a couple days. I believe it's an Ed Brown. And then I went ahead also and it's a one piece on top of that. I went ahead also and ordered the MagTech, or not the MagTech, the Wilson Combat, recoil or guide rod buffers, and a new recoil spring as well. So I'm going to turn the camera off here for a second, reassemble, and I'll show you a little bit about the accessories that I choose and the holsters that I choose to carry with on a daily basis. So I'll be right back.